I came across a tweet that was from one John Bisignano. John Bisignano. Lee Harvey Oswald thought he was a patriot, but he was not. John Wilkes Booth thought he was a patriot, but he was not. Many people that caused terror claim to be acting as patriots, but they're not. Not one person that stormed through the doors of the U.S. Capitol was a patriot. Not one. Hold the phone. Hold the phone. I think we have a case of Biden bot revisionism here once again. Lee Harvey Oswald did not view himself as an American patriot. Oswald, who many of us still have questions about as to whether or not he acted alone during the Kennedy assassination, was not someone who viewed himself as an American patriot. Let's be real. The man defected to the Soviet Union and was not at all in line with the America philosophy. John Wilkes Booth was not loyal to the United States of America either. He was loyal to the Confederate States of America and therefore did not view himself as a Unionist patriot either. As far as the people who use terror claiming to be patriots, let me sing a song for you. 10 soldiers and Nixon's coming. We're finally on our own. This summer I hear the drumming for dead in Ohio. Gotta get down with it. Soldiers are cutting us down. Yeah, okay. Those National Guardsmen killing those 4 college students at Kent State were patriotic, killing those godless commies. Right? How about the men who dropped the atom bombs on Japan? Weren't they being patriotic? One can argue that the soldiers who massacred Native Americans were being patriotic, right? How about the Boston Tea Party, which was an act of economic terrorism? Those men were not being patriotic towards the British Crown, were they? The term patriotic is subjective. What may be patriotic to liberals may not be patriotic to conservatives and vice versa, which takes us to January 6th, which I view not as the darkest day in the history of American democracy, but as the dumbest day in the history of American democracy. The revisionist liberals will say that this was an attack launched by racist, sexist, white Trump-supporting neo-Confederates. Falun Gong, Hong Kong protesters, Korean Moonies, Iranian Shah supporters, Netanyahu supporters, and Cuban Gussanos notwithstanding, who attempted to disturb the democratic process and prevent President-elect Biden's electoral certification. They're all traitors to democracy. For Christ's sakes, these Trumpers marched into the Capitol, a building, might I remind you, constructed by slaves. I think William Thornton was the architect, with the Confederate flag. This is the first time this has ever happened. It's a moral sin, a moral outrage, even though the building was constructed by slaves, right? On the flip side, conservatives say that this was a patriotic act to save America from being subverted by the communist deep state. Others will say that Antifa was behind this as a way to make Trump supporters look bad. The truth is far more complex than these simple explanations given by simple people. What happened on January 6th was not some organic uprising of Trumpers. I have filmed enough protests in my day to know the difference between AstroTurf protesting and organic protesting. If this was organic, certainly no one would have gotten inside the Capitol. There were politicians, petty bourgeois donors and sponsors, the lady who owns Publix, the MyPillow guy. Yeah, they're rich, but they're not Jeff Bezos rich, okay? And the D.C. police were all in on this act. This was a haphazardly arranged AstroTurf. Don't let anybody else spin it any other way. The more culturally nationalist lower levels of capitalism, the brick and mortar crowd who backed Donald Trump, are in a war with the more progressive neoliberal upper levels of capital, which back Joe Biden. This was not capitalism versus communism as the libertarian idiots frame it. This is not purely sexist, racist, white supremacists trying to overthrow democracy to install the Fourth Reich as the blue MAGA idiots on the other side frame it either. This is the aesthetic of protectionism, the coal miners, the small energy companies, dying industry, Trump versus free trade, big tech, green energy, big corporations, Biden. National sovereignty versus multinational corporate rule. As to who the patriots and the traitors are, this is indeed a very slippery slope. Notice that in 2021, while the progressives and the liberals go on endlessly about race and gender, they don't seem to talk about overturning Citizens United anymore. They don't talk about getting money out of politics anymore either. And of course not. Why would they? When AOC, for her 2020 re-election bid, according to Open Secrets, they follow the money, got $100,000 from individuals who worked at Google, $62,000 from individuals who worked at Amazon, who she supposedly hates, remember? $50,000 from individuals who work at Apple, $44,000 from individuals who work at Microsoft, $40,000 from individuals who work at AT&T, $26,000 from individuals who work at Walt Disney, and $25,000 from individuals who work at IBM. No, dumbass Trump supporters. AOC does not work for China, and she damn sure ain't no socialist. Hey, radical liberals, remember, we are the 99%, because apparently AOC doesn't, and she was not involved with Occupy Wall Street or Occupy Boston. I would know. Because she, like Joe Biden, works for Silicon Valley and Wall Street. They work for the 1%, and the Justice Democrats and the organizers who work for the nonprofits affiliated with them had the audacity to siphon energy from a movement that I helped to build and shill for politicians backed by the very same corporate interests that my comrades and I stood up to 10 years ago. Shame on you for using identity politics to advance corporate interests. And you didn't think that one of us from Orthodox Occupy, no, not Occupy Together, not Occupy Democrats, Orthodox Occupy, we're going to catch on to this? You may have fooled a lot of people, but you didn't fool all of us. Now, am I condoning what happened on January 6th? No. The people who invaded the Capitol did not do so in the name of fighting corporate interests, dictating the direction of our country. They did so in the misguided effort of fighting communism in the name of keeping neoliberalism's favorite son in power. Why do I consider Trump as neoliberalism's favorite son? Because Donald Trump put all the sins of capitalism onto himself, so much to the extent that liberals view Trump as the enemy, not our flawed system, which is still tainted with the residue of Reaganism, as the enemy. Trump made liberals love and accept George W. Bush, for fuck's sake. Trump made liberals assumed that everyone who was anti-liberal was part of some Russian conspiracy, a QAnon conspiracy theorist, or someone who supports the bloody Ku Klux Klan. Trump was the worst thing that ever happened to the left in the United States because the left got absorbed by capitalist liberals and their anti-Trump alliance. And this was the doing of Hillary Clinton, who propped up Trump to be easy opposition for her to beat in 2016, as per leaked emails via WikiLeaks reveal. Liberals seem to look past that and don't accept responsibility for creating their own monster, nor do they accept responsibility for anything else for that matter. January 6th was not the darkest day in our democracy, because the truth is we don't live in a democracy. We live in a corporate oligarchy that is controlled by the 0.01%. Our politicians in both parties work for the 0.01%, including AOC and the squad. Don't let them fool you. January 6th saw confused Trumpers and libertarians, who I refer to as the dumbass, useful idiots of the lower levels of capital, alienated by neoliberalism, attempting to subvert the illusion of democracy, paraphrasing my guru, George Carlin. controlled by the upper levels of capital, and the liberal MSNBC and New York Times crowd, which shit all over Occupy Wall Street 10 years ago, may I kindly remind you, got scared because elitists fear populism, even if it's fake reactionary populism. Imagine what would have happened if we didn't live in a country badly gaslighted and misinformed by Trumpism and Bidenist liberalism, and instead lived in a country where people figured out how badly they were getting fucked over by Wall Street and stormed the Capitol in the name of getting money out of politics. Would that be treason? Or would that be patriotism? This is Comrade Pella, signing off.